Okay, testing. We've got visual. Do we have audio? Looks like we have audio. Alright. And... 1 second. That fun point where I realize that I haven't actually muted the tabs. There we go. Okay, so we should be good. There should only be 1 feed going. There we go. Okay. Hey, Heel. Hello. How are you doing? How is your fabulous self today? Okay. 1 second. I'm noticing that there's stuff on the lens, so. Come on. This is what I get for using like a sticky note to cover the webcam. There we go. That's a little clearer. Alright. Weather's gotten warm. Oh, yeah. I hear that. It's like, here, it's deciding whether or not it wants to be 90 or, like, rain. So far, it hasn't done both, but, like, it was kind of muggy the last couple days, so that's fun. But, yeah. It's good seeing you in the chat, though, Heel. What? Oh. Wait, come on. There we go. Oy. But yeah, using these to cover the thing works really well. It's like fully opaque when it needs to be, but like if you get it so that the sticky bit is over the lens, it doesn't quite go so well. So there we go. All right. Yeah. So I'm glad that you're doing all right, even though the weather's being weird. I keep forgetting that you're in Australia, where it's like it's attempting to sort of vaguely get cooler here, but not really. It's thinking about it. Not seriously at present, but it's thinking about it. So, you know, there's that. Alright. Yes, so today's tea selection is Moroccan mint green tea, so I think I've had this one before. Like, oh jeez, come on. There we go. Yeah. It's pretty good. Oh, there's orange and lemon in there too. Alright. Good to know. Alright. So, anyone have particular pressing questions or observations or whatnot? Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. Subtropical Australia. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Alright. Summer's kind of wild. I mean, here I would say for California, but like I'm also coastal California, like coastal SoCal. So like it's a different climate than interior SoCal, cuz like desert versus vaguely Mediterranean. Just need some big rainstorms, so that's alright. Okay. I mean, at least there's that. We had a we had a giant rain thunderstorm last night. Which, like, I will say, right, the I've experienced weather patterns in, like, the Pacific Northwest for, like, a little bit, and England, and here, and and the Northern Pacific and England are fairly on par, where it's like when it rains, it's kind of a sprinkle or like a harder rain for an extended period of time and stuff. Here though, it's more like sun and whatever and hot, and the next day it's downpour when it feels like it. But like it feels like it's gonna rain for a couple of days generally. But then there's just like 20 minutes of which is fun. Uh, uh, yeah, no, some good rainstorms are good. They're better if you're not in a flood zone, though, I will say, generally. But rain's good, generally. Because the plants need it. And stuff. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So, uh, for our current reading material here, once again, just forewarning, spoilers ahead, because like we're rather far into the text. That's where we stopped for this round. So there's like a third left. But we're rather far into the text. So spoilers. But when we left our band of wandering investigators. Why weather in books so cold? Yes, it's the Ice Age, but why? Seriously, like 15 feet of snow. Like, what? The giant freaking trees look like tiny hills in the landscape. Like, what? What happened? appreciate how the only, like, actual access point to, you know, stable land happens to be at the convent that they're trying to get to, and the river that they're on freezes so that they actually can't move and have to vacate the boat right at that point. So there's that. But yeah, so like when last we saw our band of traveling investigators, they were attempting to flee from the giant dick tower that was about to be on fire. So there we go. Which I just have to say, as a logistical thing, right? Like, dancing scream. Okay, one sec. uh, yeah. Interestingly, just to see, right? Interestingly, the what was it? The scriptoria, because scriptora would be a writer, but scriptoria or scriptoriums, the scriptoria would be the plural, was a room in a monastery set aside for copying, writing, or illuminating of manuscripts and records. So there's that. Okay. Yeah. Just as a logistical thing, right? They're trying to burn a tower in the middle of winter using random bits of, like, furniture and hay and stuff. Now, just as a thing, it's cold enough that if you sit still for like 10 minutes, you die. Basically. So, like, but a nunnery can't have a scriptorium, so it's the warming room. Yeah, exactly. The warming room. They were talking about the warming room, and I'm just sitting there like, the what? Because that's where you. That's where they have, like, braziers and stuff, so, like, you can be in there and, like, be nice and warm. Would Adelia be the militant feminist in modern timeline? I wouldn't go militant, but she'd definitely be a feminist. Also, thanks for the follow, Sir. Cadoblepuss? Sir Cadoblepuss? Apologies if I've pronounced that completely wrong. But yeah, that is a good question. You need to go to work. Okay, have a fabulous day at work, Heel. And see you later. But yeah, no, that is a very good question on that. Yeah. Ow. Alright. So. Okay, one sec. Just gonna unclip the mic. Alright. So, yeah. Ow. Simply because this right here is where the mic was sitting, and I kind of need access to that point because the shoulder has just decided to not want to function today. Alright. Ow. I'm glad to see that the mic is still picking up the audio. Anyway, which is good. Yeah. So. Good? Maybe? Maybe, sort of. Alright. And back to a regular programming. Alright. So, we've got what was I saying? The tower and it catching on fire, right? I know that it's entirely possible for a building to catch fire, even like if the main structure is stone, depending on what the mortar is based off. Sometimes if there's like straw in there and it's exposed, that can be a fuel source. And if there's like a line of fuel like going up the structure, if it's like a regularly inhabited place or, you know, what have you, there would be like wall hangings and probably like braziers set out and whatnot. But they've already established that the servants have basically ransacked the tower, and from the looks of it, it hasn't been regularly inhabited by the majority of its former people for like a week. And with the climate as it is, that's enough to like completely mess with the integrity of any of the fuel at that point. So, like, I can understand why they might be surprised that lighting the fire wouldn't completely engulf the entire tower in, like, an inferno of destruction. But also, right, that they're trying to burn something that's mostly frozen and made of stone in the middle of winter, when there's snow coming down in basically a blizzard, and are surprised that it doesn't. I don't know. I think her militancy, yeah, for Adelia, I think her militancy is more with refusal to think. What? I think her militancy is more with refusal to think logically and be curious. So in modern times, we think Adelia would be vigorously anti-vaxxer. Yeah. Yeah. That sounds about right. Sounds about right. And like going in that same vein, right? She's coming from a society where women might not have like full equality with the menfolk in their general vicinity for whatever. Yeah. It's clearly because Dacre's called on Satan that the tower didn't explode. Yes, exactly. It's not at all because the physics exists. Which, just, I would say, right? I'm guessing that Adelia's the only one that heard her say that. But, like, no one's batting an eye that this, like, lady who's got some, like, apparently serious issues, who's, like, riding behind Adelia, is just like, wait, it's not burning. Yes! Because I asked Satan to protect it. Alright. Like, no one's, that's not part of the commentary happening. It's just like, what? Okay. That's where we're going, apparently. And then, like, I don't know, a chapter or so later, it's like, yes. Bertha died. Alright. Yes, I asked my master to get revenge on her. Like, wait, who? Like, the only one! Like, guys. Come on. Like, I realize that you've gone through a few things right now, Adelia, but, like, that one, I don't know. Interesting things. Anyway. Yeah. But yeah, Adelia went from being in an area where regardless of gender, you could study and practice medicine and generally be respected as a scientist and practitioner of your craft to essentially being requisitioned into the service of the king and then not allowed to go home. And whenever she's like visibly doing her job, gets accused of witchcraft because she's got a brain and knows forensics and like can piece together bits of information. But like if they're shared without one of the menfolk taking credit for the observation and she's just there as, you know, the interpreter, as with Mansur, she's apparently a witch. Mm, what? Which I realize is like that's the level of ridiculousness, and like even more than that, it's just that has existed for like centuries. But still, guys, just because someone knows medicine and knows that in order to try and figure out how someone died, you have to, you know, look at the evidence. Doesn't mean they're using witchcraft. Seriously. Come on. Ah. Anyway. Which is also kind of hilarious, right? It's like, Adelia is being accused of witchcraft because, like, she's a forensic pathologist, essentially. And Dagger's, who's, like, legitimately sacrificing cats to Satan, is just like that old lady with some mental problems. That, like, they've decided to give sharp implements so that she can sharpen quills in the corner. Alright, one sec. That's exactly. Thinking women, grab the pitchforks. We can't have that. No, no, none of that. Hi. Also, right? Just. Mm. Oh, where is it? Where's that thing? There we go. Like, uh, right. So we've got a medical professional trained in the art of dissection and uh, amputation when needed, and like treatment of grievous bodily injury and things. Goes to England and sees it as an exotic locale, which, like, compared to Sicily, like, alright, it's a much different climate, I realize, especially at this point in history. Aha. But like, a medical establishment, right, where there's, surgery facilities and things, and, facilities to do what is needed to do, versus, I know we're in the infirmary, but in order to do an amputation, we have to take this guy with an arm that's like trying to decompose itself to the kitchen because what was the phrase? Uh, I forget what the actual phrasing was, but like, in order to not offend God's delicate sensibilities, they had to vacate the infirmary and go to the kitchen because, like, it's okay to shed blood in the kitchen because, like, animals are slaughtered and stuff, and meat's prepared there. So, like, therefore, it's okay to amputate some dude's arm, because reasons. And then we have a Dealey who's sitting there like, yeah. What was it? The stink of decomposition coming from the kitchen pail was a worry to her. After all, this was the kitchen that served their food. Like, obviously. What? Every so often the sun becomes quieter for longer periods of time, experiencing much fewer sunspots and giving off less energy. This is called Grand Solar Minimum. And the last time this happened, it coincided with a period called the Little Ice Age, a period of extremely low solar activity from approximately AD 1650 to 1715 in the Northern Hemisphere, when a combination of cooling from volcanic aerosols and low solar activity produced lower surface temperatures. Yeah. Which means that there's been 2 in the last 1,000 years. Because if this is taking place right after the Stephen and Matilda Wars, and it'd be like 1140s to 1150s. And then 1650 to 1715 was another one, yeah. Because I hadn't realized that there was an earlier one, but I have seen woodcuts and sketches and stuff depicting the 1650 one, where there's folks skating around on a pond in garb of the time. Yeah. That is cool that you can check stuff like that on the NASA site, though. Very cool. Also, can we just appreciate that the password to get into places has just become like cross punching people in the face. Imagine it through the plants for a loop, right? They're just there, they're chilling, they're doing their thing, photosynthesizing, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait a second. What? And it's not so bad if it's like, I don't know. Nice password, right? It's not so bad if it's like a short span of time or even like a couple of years, but like depending on when the effects start to really be felt, if it's at a point in the plant's life cycle that there aren't viable seeds, that could be more of an issue for the stuff. Because if the plant has gone to seed and then there's just an extended frost or like whatnot, depending on the plant, like there's quite a number that if the seed freezes, then it would be fine and then just be able to thaw out once the area warms again, which is how the same if it dries out, really, which is how certain like ancient seeds have been sprouted from like tombs or tundra retrieval operations. But if the seed has sprouted, if it's like in the summer or something, what would be summer time, where everything has sprouted, there might be a few flowers, but there's no seed produced yet, the area would have a lot more difficulty reseeding itself, or reestablishing itself, really, once the area is inhabitable by the plant life again. So, as a thing, something to consider. Whether you're writing a story with that as a plot point or otherwise. Also, Dacre's lesbian rep. Maybe. That one, I don't know. There's definitely a potential, though. Definitely a potential. Okay. Also, just gonna say, right? I do appreciate the mental commentary about Wolvercoat's incompetence and just like doing a sweep of the other folks in the room, how Schweitz is just annoyed at everybody because, like, Wolvercoat is that incompetent with what he's doing and just abjectly alienating the entire populace. All over the place. Alright. Also, like, I realize that it's it's probably largely in part because she was trained in Salerno, and Salerno used don't know what that was. One sec. Salerno used Arabic and European practices in the process. At which point opium actually, one sec. From what I remember, at least, opium is originally found in Middle East. One sec. I'm 48. Ah, come on. Eleanor, by inference, is also that incompetent and selfish. Yeah, seriously, like, like I can understand being, you know, mad and whatnot, and, you know, feeling the need to take out whatever. Okay. Opium poppy, native range, Turkey across the east, especially Afghanistan, India, Myanmar, and Thailand. Yeah, okay. So, yeah. I hadn't realized that there was a potential for it to have been present in England at this point until it was referenced. But if our main character was trained in Salerno, then she would have been exposed to using opiates as a pain reliever and as some kind of I suppose it would be an early anesthesia at that point. Monasteries cultivated it, right? Yeah, to a degree. And from the descriptions in here, she Cambridgeshire, yeah, okay. So she managed to grow quite a bit of it in the Cambridgeshire Fens, which is interesting. Like when there's passages like that, is it's a fast growing plant, so that makes sense. But she's only been in England for a year, and from how settled she is with stuff, how like stable certain things are, it seems like she's been there for longer. But then also I know sometimes people just settle into an area relatively fast, or there's a lot that happens, so therefore you adjust faster. I don't know, but that's an interesting point there. Willow bark seems far too weak for frostbite pain. Yeah, like I have not experienced that particular ailment, admittedly, but like that seems like it would be a bit weak, shall we say. But like, alright. Just at this point about 2 or 3 years, because the baby was conceived at the end of book 1 and is now teething. Okay, yeah. Alright. Fair. Which, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah. Okay. That makes more sense. Alright. There's just something, again, with, like, the prescribed roles of men and women and stuff. Like, there's just something about, right, okay, I know that you're my assistant and everything, but, like, it has to look like you're instructing me, otherwise this dude is not gonna let me operate on his friend, so, like, I need you to just say stuff for an extended period of time. So he's just, like, there reciting the Book of 1,000 Nights. Because, like, alright, English people are weird. They'll think that you're doing witchcraft. And, like, if I do it, then it's fine, but, like, I'm the weird foreign dude, but if you do it, then you're a witch. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Totally. Which also, like, oh, he's a sorcerer. Okay. That's, like, that's kind of weird, but, like, alright, that's cool. But, like, oh, the potential that she's doing witchy things like that, no, that you might get burned for, like, right. Honestly. Seriously, Menser is amazing. uh, okay. Also, I do rather like that. Yeah, I mean the only also like showdown at the bridge, right? Like, guys. uh, seriously, what was the passage? Priors want to be warlord 0, exactly. Like, no, this is my bridge. You can't take the bodies off my bridge. Like, it's our land, all right? Like, it's on our land. You know this. Stop it. No. There's no one coming. The water's frozen. No one's gonna see the people that you decided to stick hanging off the bridge. So just, like, stop it. Alright? Stop it. Ugh. And, like, it'll be interesting to see how they play it out in the next, like, yeah. Yeah, just looking at the couple first lines of chapter 10, it'd be interesting to see how they play that out. But yeah. The the interesting points from the first couple of chapters of we have found this body on the bridge. I wonder why. Oh, we've discovered why, because someone's being a jealous asshat. Alright. Yeah, that's great. That's great. At which point, if he wasn't so dumb, Wolvercoat calling Adelia a witch when she figures out she had the assassins he hired to kill his rival Swain could be strategic, but he's literal dumb luck. Exactly. Like, bruh. You could have played that to your advantage, and like you didn't. So I don't know what to say, man. Like, come on. Any theories about who Sicarius is? I don't know. Huh. I just flipped to the start for a second, and there's mention of the Ellis Peters Historical Dagger Award. I did not realize that there was an Ellis Peters Historical Dagger Award, but apparently it's for like historical fiction that's also like mystery thrillers and stuff. Cool. As to Sicarius, we've got someone who can take on identities as needed, but overall, goes kind of intentionally unnoticed, probably because he is an assassin, but also is dressed relatively well, and at least in his own head is a rather sarcastic being. Um, that one, I don't know. Bit of a dandy. Yeah, exactly. Like, Hello. How are you doing, Ketta? I'm doing alright. Also, thank you for the follow. We're currently... we are currently going through chapters 7 to 9 of The Serpent's Tale, where there's murder and mystery and a whole lot of idiocy happening. Because, like, people are geniuses. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So a Cockney word of the day has been requested. So what... where is it? Come on. Uh-huh. Right. I reorganized stuff so that I could find it easier. And the Cockney book seems to have disappeared. So, yeah. That one, either we can try and put a pin in for later, or we can, we'll what? Not sure what you're talking about there. No. I do not know a Candace. Also, Rodus, thank you for the follow. But yeah, the Cockney book seems to have disappeared at the moment. However, we do have a little used word in the actual text that we're doing. So we can go with that. So we've got, what's it? Fang Thief. It's a sort of legal franchise that certain lords of the manor hold by ancient right to pass the death penalty on thieves caught on their property, which basically amounts to, I don't like you, so therefore you die now, for whatever reason. So, yeah. And there we go. There we go. Yeah. Also, just, yeah. Yeah, Thing Thief sounds like a pretty epic name for a dog. Yeah. Also, right, the lover, or at least love interest, of Wolvercoat's fiance, intended, whatever phrasing you want to use, who, like, I realized that it was a thing, but, like, dude's, like, wait, at least 35, probably, like, 45 or something, and, wait, what's her name? Emma's, like, 16? Come on, man. But dude has the guy murdered. There's footprints that match the two thieves, who, and I'm extrapolating because, like, I've seen so many episodes of Criminal Minds and CSI and everything else, so, like, going on the assumption that he hired them, like, personally, and not, you know, farming it out, because, you know, otherwise there would be another person who can talk. It would probably be a situation where, like, there's a split payment, so you get, like, a third up front and then the rest, like, on delivery. So at which point, going back to the manor to get the rest of the payment, that would be when they were killed or stuff. At which point, were they alive when they got flung off the bridge? Or had they already been killed? Because Bertha was killed, presumably, well, it looks like she was garroted using the chain that she was wearing, or at least something similar, and then strung up. So, would the other two have likewise been killed in that manner and then hung from the bridge? Because otherwise, one or both of them would have had probably ample time to talk between the time that they were at the manor and getting to the bridge itself. You know? So we've got Wolvercoat, who is a real suspect already. Like, this is why drop signs and trusted go-betweens were invented, right? Right? It's like, dude, I realize, right? I realize that you're trying to cover your tracks and all that, and attempting to have the least amount of people aware of what you're doing as possible, but like, in not having any middleman between you and like actively killing people, like, you're being real obvious, alright? Like, really, really obvious. That, like, I want the bad guy to get caught and to not be murdering people anymore, I realize. But, like, also it's just kind of sad. You know? Like, if you're gonna go to the trouble of orchestrating an assassination and all that, like, at least do it well, you know? Otherwise, it's just sad. It's predictable, and it's sad. I just, you know? You know? Like, but yeah. Yeah, so there's that. And now we have a situation where Rosamund was killed, presumably to try and frame Eleanor. And what's his face? Wolvercoat, presumably, had his rival killed because reasons. And Wolvercoat has tried to position himself as the savior and grand general to the Queen to lead her armies to victory, but he can't even pull off a simple murder properly. So there's that. Meanwhile, Sicarius is over there in the corner just shaking his head because amateurs! Exactly. It's like, just the look that I'm imagining on his face, right? Yeah, Abbott what's his face is clearly the client. Exactly. Exactly. Like, seriously, the second the freaking Abbott came in to the tower, like, dude, you're real suspicious, alright? Like, there is no way that he's not involved directly in whatever kind of shenanigans are happening. Like, really? Really? Dude, come on. On top of just generally being a pompous ass. Like, come on, man. At least try to be, like, somewhat covert, alright? You're hiring assassins on people, come on. Okay. Interesting thought. It's probably unfounded, but hypotheses anyway. So, we know that someone wanted Rosamund dead. And, well, a lot of people probably wanted Rosamund dead, honestly. Someone who's trying to obnoxiously ingratiate themselves to Eleanor, which, very highly likely that it's, Abbott, what's his face? Do you want to know if you're right? Part of me does, and part of me wants to just, hang on to that for a sec, to, attempt to have some kind of, intrigue happening for the rest of it. So, let's put a pin in that one for now. For now. But, if... Alright. So, hypothesis brainstorm. Yeah. We never see on page that Rosamund is writing letters. We just see that they're in two different hands. So, and that Eleanor has received several letters. But from what I know of messages at the time, there's no, return address, really. It's just, there might be a note on the outside saying who it's going to and, a general city or something. But not, a definitive address, generally. And most of the time, it's, I'm giving, I, the lord of this manor, need to send a letter to the lord of that manor, so therefore either send a direct messenger to that other location, or, pass it off to a servant, and then they pass it off to somebody, and then they pass it off to somebody else. So, and I don't think they did, a stamp situation if it's crossing borders or anything either, as far as I know. So, what's the likelihood that Rosamund never actually wrote anything? It was just someone like the abbot, who was trying to breed dissent amongst the masses, wrote stuff, and then, at whatever point, that things were being staged, letters were put out to make it look like she was writing something. Now, having said that, it at least appears that Dacres was the one posing Rosamund after she died to make her look all regal and stuff. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Rosamund was actually the one writing anything, just that the letters happened to be there. So, I don't know on that. But, interesting thing to think about. Oh, for sure. But yeah. So there's that. Also, just as an observation, right? Women accused of witchcraft who were seen committing acts of witchcraft or whatever phrasing ended up being used at any particular point in history. I need to stop messing with the mic cable. Alright. It was like if the mic audio was being weird, it's because I was tying the cable in knots subconsciously. So like if you hear like fiddly noises, it's this guy. So women accused of witchcraft were by and large not I mean women weren't generally respected anyway, but were either seen as, you know, evil or needing to be cleansed from the earth or whatever BS the general populace was going with at that point. Which was interesting because in the 1100s, like, Christianity was in full force, but there were a lot of people, especially in rural communities, that still practiced the old ways. They were just a lot more quiet about it because the church was such a thing, and they sometimes killed people for witchcraft. And in order to practice her craft, Adelia has to hide behind the veneer of being Mansur's assistant. And when the instances that she doesn't, she's accused of witchcraft, which could, in certain situations, maybe be a death sentence, depending on what has happened. And in order to be able to keep up the pretense that he's the instructor and she's just the assistant, he recites 1,000 Nights, or from what I remember, 1,000 Nights, Arabian Nights, 1,001 Arabian Nights is all the same thing, and was written as a collection of stories by a woman who was trying to keep her husband from killing her, because, like, well, I mean, this night story was interesting, so, like, let's let's keep her around so like the next one's interesting too, and we'll see what happens. So like, just as a thing, right? Using a story set written by someone who's trying to protect herself by creating stories as a way to protect herself while doing her job, like, by way of Mansur, and it's like, interesting. Interesting juxtaposition. I appreciate it. Alright, were witch hunts ever a thing in non-Christian areas? Don't think we ever heard about that being a thing. That's the thing. I know there's areas that might not be. That's a tough one. Because there's so many different regional methods of practicing Christianity, sometimes it's hard to say exactly. But like that, and it's been around for the last like 2,000 years, so it's pretty widespread. From what I remember, though, most, if not all, really, but most pre-Christian, or, well, yeah, most pre-Christian, or at least pre, mm, eh, it doesn't seem to be as much of a thing in Jewish tradition. And Christianity was around before Islam. So yeah, I would say pre-Christian. But in most pre-Christian sort of traditions, there's at least some element of like historicism, or at least even in Christian traditions. I'm not overly familiar with Islam, so I don't know for that, but it depends on what's being defined as historic tradition and what's verging on witchcraft, because for a lot of them, it's maybe not the same thing, but there's a lot of overlap. So it just depends on who's in power and how things are being defined at any particular point. But I would say that's fairly accurate, that it's not generally a thing in non-Christian areas. And in areas now, like, even if it's non-Christian, there's still an anti-witchcraft thing, or an anti like magic thing. But it's partly a pushback to Christianity, at least in part. And it's partly because there's certain associations, certain prejudices, connotations, what have you, that have been part of general society for an extended period of time because of Christianity or other organized religion. that has influenced, secular policy, secular tradition, to a point that it's not just religious situations anymore. If that makes sense. But yeah. That's one of those that sometimes it's hard to trace directly to an origin point. Because I know witch hunts have been a big issue in certain parts of Africa in the last couple years, and it was one of the Eastern European countries. I can't remember if it was like Poland or like Ukraine, but like right around there was a big anti-witch issue a couple years ago too. So, which it's a lot, from what I understand at least. It has less of a hold in the area now, but Eastern Europe is still very predominantly like, maybe not Eastern Orthodox, but like a branch of some type of Catholicism. So there's that. But yeah, I don't know on that one. All right. What's that? Oh yeah. Also, so we've got in here slight diversion from ow, that hurt. I was poked by this thing. Slight diversion from previous discussion. So our main cast is stuck on a boat, going down a mostly frozen river, attempting to vacate the premises in order to go about their business. 15-foot tall mountains of snow and whatever on either side of the river. A half frozen river that they're on. And that's the point that Rolly decides, you know what? I need to get out of the boat, like, right now. What? I realized that if he tried to sneak away from the boat as a main person of interest, once they'd actually made landfall, he'd probably be under armed guard pretty well constantly. So, like, getting away from everyone before that is a good idea. But, like, that's also how you die. You know? So, like, there's still a third of the book left. And the dude sounds like he can be kinda scrappy when he needs to be, just as a thing, from what we've seen before and what's inferred from book one. But, like, you just jumped off a boat in a mostly frozen river into the snow where, like, you sit still for 5 minutes and you die because you froze. Sir, what are you doing? Come on. But, like, because he ran off, Henry's probably gonna be alerted that his wife has decided to go a bit, round the bend with stuff. But, like, what? What? Ah. I. Okay. Yeah. Also, yeah. Totally called the Emma and Talbot situation. Like, oi. Alright. Now, anything else coming to mind? Because that was the main. Um, that was the main stuff. Oh, also, right? And I realize this is similarly a thing that was a thing at the time, right? Where just all the patients were men in the infirmary because, you know, women mainly treat themselves. Uh mm, right. Women mainly treat themselves because the menfolk never took women seriously. So they had to figure it out themselves. Oy. Also, the idea that, like, no one aside from Adelia has, like, questioned that it was an old woman trying to pawn off mushrooms. Because, like, that's a weirdly overdone thing. Can also be read as a commentary on the frailty of men. Exactly. Like, women can kind of sort themselves out. Men, however. Especially because it's, like, what was it? most of the men in the infirmary were suffering from congestion of the lungs. Like, yeah, y'all are sick and have pneumonia. So, like, because you're geniuses. Honestly. Also, right, I just... Sister Lanceline being all, like, having a happy nerd moment about books and stuff, and then just... What was it? She asked the abbot to borrow a book, but, like, oh no, it's too fragile. Like, it wouldn't work. No, like, no, no, like, because women aren't scholars, and really, just one more thing that the freaking abbot is annoying about. Like, seriously, all of the hugs for Sister Lanceline. She's fabulous. Ah, all of the books and all of the hugs. Seriously, like, she just wants to be there with the books and stuff. Like seriously, the the look, the described look on her face when Adelia is going over to check out one of the books, and, like, just pulling it off the shelf, and you know how to work with the books. You're not gonna just, like, completely wreck the spine by pulling it from, like, the top, like an heathen. Oh, okay, you can look at the books. That's okay. Like, dude, Abbott, what's his face? Just let her look at the books. Let her read. Come on, don't be that guy. Ah, honestly, man, come on. Like, their gender roles with tend to keep the women warmer. Right? Yes, the women scholars, you know, as they're not called, get stuck in the warmer room, but, like, the men folk get the scriptorium. Uh, that was just funny though. Like, and yet another example of uh fabulous naming strategies. What shall we call this place that is vaguely warmer than other places because it has fire and things? I know, the warming room. Men get scriptorium and pneumonia. Yeah. Yeah. Like, honestly, women get the nice warm kitchen. Yeah, women get the nice warm kitchen where, surgery takes place, apparently. But the women aren't allowed to do the surgery, so, like, they have to vacate the premises and let the men folk in to do the surgery. But, like, the men aren't allowed to do the food, in the kitchen, so, like, the women have to come in after surgery to do the food. It's like, it's so convoluted. Really? Let the people have the tools they need. Dang it. Come on. Meanwhile, Dakers is just over in a corner, like, you're sharpening quills with a knife. Because, like, obviously. That's the job that you need to give the person who just tried to murder the queen. That's, yeah, with the sharp pointy things. A genius. But the doctor on site, who's, you know, a practicing surgeon, that's the witch. Wilvercoat forbidden groups larger than 5 because of being like, well, that's done for his dinner. Exactly. Like, you realize the kitchen staff alone is like 20, right? Because, you know, or did that slip your mind because you're never the one in there? I don't know. Oh, God. Idiots. Idiots, a lot of them. Like, really. Really. I did also like the passage where he's being all serious and like, yes, this will have to go into effect, and then there will be curfews and this other thing, and then there's silence, and someone farts, and and no one moves to do anything, but like the soldiers that came with Wolvercoat are trying to figure out who disrupted the silence. Like, hey, dude, you're getting nothing out of anybody. Like, no. This is what we think of your edicts. Me. Honestly, though. Really. So right there with Wolvercoat versus a bunch of nuns on a bridge, like, you wanna go? All right. Not here though, because like this is our space. But like, I mean, okay. you're gonna be like that. All right, whatever. Have fun. Oh. I have just noticed that there is a hole in the microphone case that I need to fix, apparently. Okay. Alright. So, that's... what I was thinking. Also, we've got Wolvercoat attempting to lead an army in the name of Queen Eleanor, who... what was it? Whose presence had, undermined an entire crusade. So, like, let's see how well that's gonna go. Because... I'm thinking there might be some issues with that one. I don't know. Just an observation, you know. Yeah. Also, we've got Sister Janet who is the on-site doctor. Like, she's the doctor for the convent. She's the infirmaress. And isn't allowed to shed blood. Which people went on crusades to at least on paper, fight for the good of Christianity, even though it was, resources. But like, the medical people in the convents aren't allowed to do surgery. Yeah. So, interesting juxtaposition there. I've always found that a bit wonky doodle, but there we go. Yeah. Also, I'm not sure why I'm surprised, but I hadn't realized that they had skates at this point in history, which should not be shocking because it's Europe. It's, the entirety of Northern Europe has used skates since, like, at least the Viking period, if not before. So, I don't know. I don't know why that's like interesting. But it is. So, yeah. Anyway. That's all I'm seeing for this. Oh, yeah. Bone skates. For the thing. There's a... What's it? There's a description of kids on one of the ponds skating. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, and just the palpable frustration of trying to get a bunch of people who don't seem to care about, like, but yeah, the palpable frustration of trying to get a bunch of people who don't seem to care about, physical reality much to, like, take a murder seriously. Especially when it's like, okay, someone was killed. Oh, so someone was killed, so, like, it was obviously this person. Like, you realize that this lady that you're trying to accuse of this thing can barely, like, hold a spoon on a good day, right? Like, it's not gonna be able to, like, lift a full person, probably. I don't know. But alright, carry on. Whatever. That's far too long to be the password. For Christ's sake. It's password, not pass soliloquy. uh, right. Oh, man. Honestly. Yeah. I will say though, as much as like the interaction with the nuns about Bertha's murder is annoying because they won't take it seriously. I do appreciate that Sister Havas, while not entirely agreeing with Adelia and her life choices, um, does see the merit in what she's saying. And, like, with the, what was it? Um, yeah, with the also, yes, I will help you solve the murder, but first, I must read you for filth. Exactly. Like, I mean, I appreciate that you're trying to solve the murder right now, but like, I need to tell you, like, I'm duty bound to tell you that, like, I don't agree with your lifestyle because, like, it's gross. Like, can you maybe just not? Can we do that? Maybe? No, of course not. All right, fine. Like, I realize that, you're the best chance that we have of catching this person, but like, you're also really gross, so I need to tell you. I need to tell you that. Like, mmm, delightful, really, truly. Ah, honestly, come on. Also, right? Also, Bertha said that the person who gave her the mushrooms was like smelled nice, like had used an expensive, probably imported soap, or at least an imported soap. Period. Come to Christ, you really are. It's such a welcoming message, exactly. like, like it would depend on the delivery, maybe, and like the level of, the level of like familiarity with the people involved as to like how that would be taken, but just like as a general, right? As a general statement, especially from like a stranger, yeah, maybe not. Maybe not with the like honestly. Uh okay. Um but yeah, so from what Bertha was saying, the person who gave her the mushrooms had a very distinctive like floral or like botanical scent from their soap. And we know that Bertha presumably saw or smelled that person on site because she was trying to get word back to Adelia that it was a man, not a woman, that had given her the mushrooms. Okay, good to know. And I'm gonna wrap up in a couple minutes anyway, so they're standing in front of Eleanor's window in the courtyard, and there's a wafting of bergamot, sandalwood, and roses coming from the window. So there's something or someone in that room that has a highly scented association. It's not Eleanor, but is it the abbot or is it someone else in the general vicinity? Because from how Bertha was reacting, that scent is associated with whoever it was that gave her the mushrooms. So, the plot thickens, you see. Alright. Anyway, that's where we're gonna end today. So next week, there's 4 more chapters, so either we can do the whole thing for next week. It's like, I don't know, 100 and like 130 pages, or we can break it up so that it's like 10 and 11 next week, and then 12 and 13 the week after. We'll see in the next couple of days how that goes. But yeah, that is it for this round. Thank you very much. The unsub was not the abbot. Okay, that's what I figured. He's just really suspicious and annoying. So yeah. I kind of figured he wasn't, but there we go. There's that. Anyway, that's it for today. Hope y'all have a fabulous evening, and I will see you all later. Yeah. Vote for the next read in the Discord. Yes. Oi, ow, ow, okay. Ah! So I'm dropping things everywhere. I finally cleared out some stuff and found, like, all of these, like, half-used things of whatever. So, there's that. Thank you for the hugs, honeycomb. Alright. Until next time, which should be Thursday, we'll see. Ow! We'll see what happens for Thursday. It's probably going to be an art thing. Don't know what exactly of an art thing, but a thing. Anyway, we'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.